Well, I don't know if if necessarily it means that any one team is going to crush another team. I don't think any one team had a huge edge on any other team, but I think it's fun that there were some different strategies involved, and you still had to adapt and adjust to it. So it certainly felt like a team sport.
Yeah, it's a great event. Maybe next year can make a little bit longer, like 3 days, not 2 days, and maybe with like 12 team and not 18. But it's a great event also this year.
I think as far as a 2-day event is concerned, that's about as legit as it can get. There were so many steps along the way, starting with the singles, a heads up, then the six max, and then again some heads up. There's so much variance in poker. You can never tell which country is the best for over a 2-day competition. But as far as like 2 days concerned, like they were definitely used to the fullest. Yeah.
I wouldn't say the best team necessarily wins, but it's better than just a random group of sit and goes.
So, I mean, it's a pretty good structure to decide which is the best team, since it's, a pretty long competition, and it's pretty skillful structure too. Problem is still it's poker, so, I wouldn't say that it's like, that we are the best team or these guys are the best team. It's still poker, but it's a pretty good structure to see who played the best in those games.
Well, in SMGs, the biggest thing was when you get to heads up. If you have an overwhelming lead, you don't need to gamble, so you can actually wait it out because there's a hard stop. That was one big thing. The other thing was just doing teamwork and figuring out who plays in the six max. If you got that far, and potentially who's sitting where and what stack and who's gonna play.
Obviously, sit and goes are turbo, so you have to play ICM and GTO. And in heads up, you said me? Heads up and in heads up, obviously, it's more like fantasy. It's not like the one thing is absolutely correct, one thing is not absolutely correct, like in sit and go. In heads up, it's like you have to create, you have to study your opponent, something like that. So it's a lot different.
First round, as far as first round sit and go. There was the fact that it was a hard stop made a dynamic that was way different than what we're used to. As soon as we came down to three-handed, if there were less than 2 levels left into play, we saw a lot of people stalling, using some time banks, something that you wouldn't necessarily see in tournaments. As far as getting points, towards like the later round, mostly in the last round, like you had to look at different countries and see like who you were trying to get ahead of, who was about to be eliminated. But more or less, you always just had to do your best and get further on. First place was everything. It was 9 points. Fourth place is worth 1/9 of that. So with a structured 9-5-2-1, finishing third is not worth a whole lot. For myself, I cashed 4 out of 5, but I had 1-4, 2/3, and 1 second, so no first. So it wasn't good enough to put us up there, but got a shot to be close to it at least.
Well, I think the heads-up strategy is pretty straightforward. It doesn't really deviate much from heads-up strategy generally because it's just winner-take-all. So it's just like a heads-up sit-and-go would be. In terms of the actual qualifying round, the sit-and-goes, the strategy is also similar until the end. And then at the end, it's basically a race to see who can get to a point where they can automatically outlast their opponents. So it's a little bit like football, where you get enough of a lead that you can just take a knee every down and then run the clock out. That's kind of what people are trying to do in this format, get to a point where they can just fold every hand and still have the lead at the end.
So the sit and goes played out like you had to make as many wins and second place possible. Like, it was pretty important to have some points here and there, but winning and being the runner-up was too much important. So we started out playing like we had to win. So I won't say like winner take all, but we were pretty going nuts whenever we had the chance to do so. And after the first rounds, like the 4 rounds something, we tried to adapt a little bit to the standings, but still, like, in the end, the strategy was always that the wins was so much more important. So that's it.
Yeah, we discussed specifically, the differences in how this is different from a regular poker event, and how we're gonna approach it.
A lot. Before the event and during the event, in the different games, and we talk a lot. I think it's one of the facts because we won.
We talked some bunch of ICM spots throughout the sit and goes. As when it came down to the heads up play, it was the first edition. We didn't have a team captain per se. Everybody wanted to play heads up, so the only thing that we could do was flip for who was playing heads up, and it happened to be Jonathan, Andrew, and myself. Since we played heads up, Sorel and Ami started the sit and go 6 max right after. So that's how we did it.
The U.S. team was incredibly talented. There were tons of very good players. I felt very privileged to be on it. We did talk strategy, but we focused our strategy talk on the adjustments we had to make for this particular format. And there were a couple people on our team who were great at thinking through very quickly and thoroughly what to do and how to do it. So I thought we ended up playing pretty well considering the strategy and just came up a little short.
We did talk a lot about strategy, although we don't really confront each other each day, but we still decided together what to do in some spots and what to do, like, where the 6 max parts went out, which was a lot to, it was interesting in choosing which guy was playing which part and based on how deep the stacks were. So yes, we did a lot of talk together.
I think that will depend on if there's going to be any prize money involved. If there's significant prize money involved, perhaps. Without that, I think that's going to be hard to do.
I think for sure. I see a lot of great players happy to play for your nation. So yeah, I think so.
I know for myself, like competition, a team competition is very appealing to me, especially when you represent your country. I understand it might not be the case for everyone. I know I would extend it to 3 days if it was for me, even if there's not much of a prize pool. I can tell for everyone though, I know it's not on top of everybody's priority. But for the people that actually care about representing a team and country, I think that can be a thing. Yeah.
I think the first Global Poker Masters was a big success, and in the future, if they can get some more attention and maybe some more sponsorship money, then I think players will definitely be willing to forego some small tournaments if they can play an event like this that has a little bit more prize money and has all the prestige that this tournament had and could have more of.
Well, I know that I shouldn't be saying that, but if there is some more prize, for sure. But what I will say is that, poker players have a lot of egos. So even if you don't have a prize, I guess that these guys are playing their heart out here. So yes, as long as it's not like an EPT main or a bigger roller or whatever, yes, people are gonna sacrifice like the IPT or the Eureka or a 2K set events to play this thing.
Yeah, I think the Global Poker Masters was successful in driving this team spirit. I certainly felt like I was part of a team, and we were definitely rooting. We were trying to win and doing our best, and it felt like every team was doing that, even though there wasn't any money involved.
Yeah, I think it's possible. It's difficult, but I think it's possible. Yeah.
We like to think so. I mean, if it is the country to do it as a World Cup is the best way to do it. I guess time will tell. I'm sure there's going to be a second edition and maybe a third one, and we'll be able to maybe tweak the leagues and make it so it's even more appealing.
I definitely think it's possible to have team spirit in poker. I think, if you watch something like the Davis Cup in tennis, right? Part of what makes the Davis Cup so special is that the players themselves, they buy into the idea. They essentially all make this implicit agreement that the Davis Cup matters to them. They could just take it lightly and not do that, but they don't. The coaches, the players, the fans, they care about it. And so that's all that poker really needs. It needs for the players to be invested. It needs, the audience to be invested. And it just needs for the entire community to decide that they care about it enough for them to play well and for it to be meaningful.
I think it certainly has a chance. I think it's really smart to try new things, and potentially something might relate more with the general public and how poker is perceived.
Yeah, also, yeah, it's possible. I think so, yeah.
That's everybody's goal, I guess. That's what the end goal is, anyways. I know with Alex Dreyfus, all the initiative that he's putting forward is very positive for us all. So all we can do is support him.
I think poker definitely has a chance in the mainstream media. I think some people get bogged down with comparing poker specifically to athletic sports. I don't think poker will ever be something like football or basketball. It just doesn't have the dynamic athleticism that those sports have. But poker can definitely reach the mainstream, and we already know this because there are millions of people who already love and play poker. So there are people who are interested in the game, and it's just a question of getting it to them and getting it to them in the right format in a way that's exciting and engaging.
Well, I think so. It's pretty good format and it's pretty funny to watch, and still is pretty skillful. You know, they use it to think, like, to be nice to the the people that don't know poker. They use it to have like all-in situation every time or big money or whatever. Let the people think that is interesting. I don't really think that saying showdowns is interesting. I mean, saying the best player win or the best play wins is interesting, or having like a million on the table is interesting, of course. But I mean, seeing this guy play the heart out, making good decisions and winning in a pretty funny and fast format is pretty good.